Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV. Today we have a whole new WWE as the rosters went into effect, starting with last night's episode of Smackdown. And you might have enjoyed that show, but I am going to give you 10 things you should have hated about last night's Smackdown, and we are going to bring the hammer down on all of those things right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show Smackdown Review and Reaction Show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
So I'm going to give you 10 things that were very, very wrong about this show, 10 things I absolutely hated, and 10 things that you should be hating about this show as well. Even if you enjoyed last night's episode of SmackDown, the issues with the WWE are still glaring everybody right in the face, and it was evident in the first episode of the new SmackDown last night. Now, before we get into the 10 official things that I hate and that you hate about SmackDown, we are going to have a little bonus thing. Since this is the first time we're doing the 10 things I hate thing, there happen to be two things that broke today in the news that I need to address that are just two things that I hate about wrestling in general right now, and that's the fact that the WWE decided to rerun SmackDown tonight, Saturday night, to go head-to-head with a special airing of AEW Dynamite, and that is just asinine to me. Asinine. There is nothing that was good enough or nothing quality enough to make the WWE deserve to replay that show just 24 hours later. The only reason behind it was so that they can try to cut in to AEW's audience, to try to stick it to them, which has been the MO now with the WWE. They're spending so much time focusing in on how they can hurt AEW that it's pathetic at this point. It's childish and it's stupid. There was no need for this. It was unnecessary. Oh, but they were going to give you special looks at the crown jewel too. No. I hate that. I hate that they did that. It is unnecessary and it is stupid. And both of these companies, with Tony Khan going off at the mouth and with Vince counter-programming the way he is, they both need to stop the bullshit, shut the hell up, stay in their lanes, and focus on their own shows. If WWE would put a fraction of the effort that they put into counter-programming AEW shows and took that effort and put it into actually making their shows watchable, then the WWE would actually be unstoppable once again. But that's not the case. That's not the case. The other thing that I hate that broke today in the news is the fact that Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch apparently had words after SmackDown because that ridiculously bad ending segment for last night's show went off the rails for some reason. I didn't get into the specifics and I don't care, but all I can tell you is that I hate the fact that this happened, and there is only one person to blame, and that is Vince McMahon. Because if you would have done something a little bit better than booking a title swap, this would have never happened. It was just ridiculous. And this is only one of the many things that happened on last night's episode of SmackDown. So let's get started with the official 10 things that you and I both hate about last night's SmackDown. You know what I hate? I hate long-winded opening promos, and that's what we got on last night's SmackDown. We had Roman Reigns coming out victorious from the crown jewel, and he was talking for nearly 20 minutes of this guy just yammering on, saying pretty much nothing until Brock Lesnar decides to come out, which brings us to the second thing. You know what I hate? I hate uninspired, unoriginal, repetitive booking, and we got that on last night's SmackDown as well. Brock Lesnar coming back for this crown jewel match in this little mini feud with Roman Reigns, and then showing up on this episode of SmackDown, going ballistic, only to get suspended as a way to write him off of television indefinitely because they don't have any plans in play for Brock Lesnar after Crown Jewel. It's just, we've been here before. We've seen this before. They call out the big guns when they need it, and then they just put them back on the shelf again. I thought we were going to continue down this road. Maybe we're going to revisit it at a later date, but we had Brock Lesnar suspended indefinitely by the doofus Adam Pearce tonight, and I hate it. I hate it. You hate it. We all hate it. You know what else I hate? I hate meaningless open challenges. We had that tonight on SmackDown as well. We had Drew McIntyre making his SmackDown debut by just asking for a fight, coming out making an open challenge to anyone on the SmackDown roster. He's going to prove that he belongs there, I guess. And who answers this challenge? Sami Zayn, who gets destroyed by Drew McIntyre in about 6 minutes. It was a decent match, but I hate meaningless open challenges. Open challenges should only be reserved to superstars that have titles, superstars that have championships to challenge for. Otherwise, you're no better than Aleister Black sitting in a room in the back in the dark waiting for someone to pick a fighter with me. I don't know why I Triple H'd Aleister Black, but in any case, I hated everything about it. You know what I hate? You know what I hate? You know what you hate? You know what you hate? You hate too much talking. You hate too much time watching a wrestling show where no actual wrestling happens. Yes, we already highlighted the long-winded opening promo and the lack of wrestling in the first hour is unforgivable. Now, we closed out the first hour with the coronation of King Woods, which was great. It was fine for what it is. King Woods, he deserves it. Hopefully they do something fun with the whole thing. But when I've gone through 1 hour of programming and I've only had one legitimate matchup that lasted barely over 5 minutes, then you're definitely doing something wrong in the writing process of your wrestling show. Definitely something wrong going on there. This is obvious. We all know this, which is why I know you already hate this, because we get this on a show-by-show basis. This is what happens. You know what I hate? You know what I hate? I hate something that you guys hate as well, and it's rematches. And WWE loves to load up the rematches, and we had rematches here tonight on SmackDown, and 24 hours after a great match at Crown Jewel, they had a rematch for Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. They faced off in a much less impressive matchup. Nothing that could have even been compared to the match the night before. This match barely went 3 minutes. It was just a squash, and Mansoor wins again. And I guess that's it for Mustafa Ali. The only silver lining in all of this is that you can see that Mustafa Ali and Mansoor really do know how to wrestle. They really are talented, and they really are underutilized. And if they're only going to be used and featured once a year or twice a year when they go over to Saudi Arabia, that is severely a lack of lack of truly understanding the talent that you have. I don't know why I lost where I was going there, but let's move along. It's just too much hate. It's too much hate on this show, because you know what else I hate? You know what I hate? I hate underwhelming debuts, and you could chalk that up as the thing wrong with Hit Row already. I love Hit Row. I mean, no disrespect at all to Hit Row. I think all 4 members of this faction have the potential to be big-time superstars. But then WWE and the main roster have to just muck it up, and they make Hit Row's debut be them coming down to the ring during their entrance, giving a long-winded, it felt very scripted promo featuring lines like, "They call me B-Fab because when I come out, I B-Fab." this is the quality of writing they're giving to the talent to try to get themselves over with. I really doubt that this was them shooting from the hip. And if it was, then maybe they were just nervous and they need to be a little bit better. But all this led to was their first match on SmackDown, which went to a tag team matchup, which featured Swerve and Top Dollar as a tag team, which is already counterproductive to what I thought they were going to do. Swerve, I thought, was a solo star. Top Dollar and Adonis, I thought, were going to be the tag team. And then we got B-Fab, the female superstar. They've already kind of messed this up with the way they debuted these guys. They could fix it. It's not really a big deal, but all they had for Hit Row here was serving them up a dish of ham and eggers, as they just had a very quick 2-minute squash match, beating up two hometown ham and egg superstars, just over a minute or so. Not really anything to be that impressed about. You know what else I hate? Rick Boogs. I don't know why it irks me so much. I love guitars. I play guitar. I don't mind the guitar player gimmick on a wrestler, but his partnership with Shinsuke just makes 0 sense, and his guitar solos during the matchups as distractions are goddamn cringeworthy, and I just can't stand the association between Boogs and Nakamura. This was number 7. I haven't been keeping count, and I apologize, but if you've been keeping track, you know we are at number 7, and that brings us immediately to number 8. You know what I hate? Hate at number 8, and the hate is so great because I hate Happy fucking Corbin and Asshat Moss. Let me tell you something. Baron Corbin has been the worst thing that has happened to pro wrestling in the history of pro wrestling. Here's a guy that had potential and talent and a great gimmick and a great theme song and a great finishing move, and then he came to the main roster, and ever since then has just become total garbage, and I don't know how you could become worse than garbage. It's like everything that they throw at this guy just turns to shit. It's the opposite of Midas. And then you pair him up with Asshat Moss and his bad jokes and the stupid comedy, and you lost me. You lost me, and I've said enough. I've said enough about it. And now it brings us to number 9. You know what I hate? I hate the fact that this is still continuing with the Rick Boogs and the Happy Corbin, because number 9, the things we hate, is championship contender matches, which is what we had with Happy Corbin facing off against Shinsuke Nakamura, the Intercontinental Champion. And what happens? The champion loses. And why do we hate this? This is the worst stipulation, the worst match type that has ever been devised to crown a number 1 contender. Not only is it just lazy and uncreative, champions, as we know, shouldn't be losing to people that are not even in contention for their title. Especially not to Happy Dickhead Corbin, and especially not thanks to the distraction caused by Boogs and Asshat Moss on the outside. So everything about this makes it the one thing over all else that deserves a big fat, stinking, disgusting poop hammer to the face. It's almost become synonymous. We should change it to the Corbin hammer, because he gets it so often. The rematch alert is still on, and though there wasn't another rematch to talk about, I will tell you the last and final thing that I hated about this show, and that was the title belt exchange. Now, this was, I wrote this down prior to knowing about what happened backstage following SmackDown between Becky and Charlotte. But let me enlighten you. Let me tell you why I hate this. It's a very commonly hated thing because, again, it highlights the fact that they're lazy, they're uncreative, and they would rather put Charlotte above all else. Why do you say that, Nick? Well, here's why I say that. Because instead of allowing Bianca Belair to beat Charlotte Flair on Monday in that Women's Championship match for the Raw Women's title, to keep the championship on Raw, they just decided to protect Charlotte and send her to SmackDown as the Raw Women's Champion. Why? Just so that they can do the title swap? The stupidest, laziest thing ever? Let me throw this at you. Wouldn't it have been better to let Bianca have beaten Charlotte, regaining a championship, being the champion of Raw, and holding the belt for her show? You send Charlotte to SmackDown, which sets up her whole thing with Becky, right? And then you could have the whole thing with the SmackDown Women's Championship being decided maybe in a tournament. I know we just did the Queen's Crown tournament and it was terrible, but they could make it better if they wanted to. It's just something that you could come up with a million better ideas than just a simple title swap. All you had to do was let Bianca beat Charlotte, so Bianca gets the title. Becky then has to surrender the SmackDown Women's Championship, leaving it vacated. You decide it somehow, some way, somewhere else. You crown a new champion. You have Becky versus Bianca on Monday Night Raw as the main title feud. And you set up somebody new on Monday Night, on SmackDown, rather. I got it a little confused, but I had to reset and recheck my notes. But that's like the easiest thing they could have done. Outside of that, they just traded the belts. And throughout the night, we had a whole bunch of unscripted promos that had no heart. All very generic, all very overly scripted throughout the night from all the new members of the SmackDown roster, instead of giving them matches or giving them vignettes or making us care about them at all. So there you go, you guys. There are the 10 biggest things that were wrong with this episode of SmackDown. 10 things that you should hate, 10 things that I know that I hate, plus a couple of little extra added bonus hatred things that we threw in there for you as well. Let me know, of course, what did you hate? If I left anything out, if I missed the part that you hated the most, shout that out down in the comments section below. If you liked today's episode, if you liked the new direction of the show, if you think this is a cool thing that we're doing here instead of the general, just me ranting for 35 to 40 minutes, hit that thumbs up. Let me know you enjoyed this version of the show and see if we can keep doing it this way instead of the other way, or maybe we could do it both ways. Who knows? We could do anything we want because this is my channel and this is your channel as well. Sledge Nation, let your voices be heard. Hit that thumbs up. Share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need to know what they should hate about SmackDown. And I'll see you guys next time when we bring the hammer down on Monday Night Raw. It's very late right now, and I'm very tired, and I'm losing focus. So that means it's time to wrap this up. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Yeti microphone, and of course, the most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. Thank you for your continued love and support of this channel, and we will see you next time. That's going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you on the Monday Night Raw review right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.
Thanks, Vince. Oh.